Alright everybody, welcome back. This is HD and it's time for game number 2 between Goody and WhiteRa. In the last game, if you guys haven't seen it yet, go check it out. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it because it was definitely interesting with WhiteRa seemingly contained. I thought for sure WhiteRa was gonna be in a ton of trouble, but he was able to sneak a probe out there that's gotta be the sneakiest, most covert probe I've ever seen, warping in a pylon behind the mineral lines of the natural of Goody, and Goody just almost barely saw it with his Marauder, but he didn't, and that actually cost him the game. And on top of that, I really like how WhiteRa didn't run inside the base. He actually continued to focus the supply depots down, because you know, a lot of players oftentimes will attack the supply depots to try to bust through, and then if the Terran player lowers his supply depots, you gotta think in his mind, why would he lower it? He would lower it to save his supply. He doesn't want to lose his supply depots. He wants you to walk in because he's in danger of being in the red and under supplies. So if you think one level above your opponent, then you think, you know, kill the supply depot. Plus, it's already halfway dead anyways. And I really like how WhiteRa did that. That's just showing how smart of a player he is. And by killing that supply depot, it prevented additional Marauders and Marines from coming out, and most likely one of the reasons why he was able to win that game so convincingly. So we are now here on game number 2, and it is going to be on Shakura's Plateau, which I love this map. This map is very wide open, and kind of like what I've been saying before with all those new GSL maps, I like wide open maps. I think they're better for the long-term longevity of Starcraft 2 and the macro style game in general. So hopefully we're going to see a macro game here. WhiteRa will actually be moving his probe down to the bottom left-hand position first. Do note that the backdoor rocks here will most likely not come into play on this game because usually these backdoor rocks come into play if both players have spawned on either the top or the bottom. That's not the situation this game as they spawn across from each other diagonally. And WhiteRa actually just throwing up that preliminary pylon just in case. But he now knows that the Terran player Goody has actually spawned on the top side. And it looks like Goody will actually be going with a full wall off here. His Marine will actually be able to pick off the probe. Ooh, just barely. One shot away. That Gauss rifle, if it had one extra range, it would have killed off the probe. Unfortunate for the Marine. He was not able to do that. Now, I kind of want to talk about this wall off. It's very interesting that Goody decided to go for the wall off because, yes, it's kind of a preference thing if Terran players want to wall off or not. On this map, I tend to think walling off not the best idea. The reason for that is because the natural expansion is very easy to capture. So a lot of Terran players oftentimes will opt to go for the fast expand, and of course walling off against a Protoss can be difficult to deal with if your supply depots are vulnerable like they were in the first game. So it looks like Goody though will not be going for the fast expansion. He's actually going to go for a factory here. So it's very well possible that he's going to go for starport, and as you guys can see, he does have 2 gases, but not 3 SCVs on the second gas. That's interesting. He may just go for Hellions or something. I'm not exactly sure why he doesn't have 3 SCVs on this gas, so we'll see. Is he going to throw a starport? Yes, he is. But it's almost certainly not gonna have enough gas for cloak. It's just gonna be maybe 1 Banshee coming out. So we'll see how that works out. WhiteRa, in the meantime, is pushing across the map with a couple Zealots and a couple Stalkers. He's got 3 warp gates here, about to have 3 warp gates. 2 gateways coming up, and so WhiteRa is going to try to apply some early pressure, but Goody already with 1 bunker, loaded with 3 Marines, and I guess this is where that wall-off does in fact come in handy. I mean, especially if you're going for this starport technology route, you don't want to allow your opponent to get inside your base and see it. And in fact, Goody doing a good job of that with his bunker and his wall. His Banshee is going to be completely hidden, and now he's got 3 SCVs on the gas. Now he's got enough gas to get the cloak. So I was a little concerned for a moment there that he wouldn't have enough gas to get a cloak and a Banshee at the same time, but indeed he is. And this is super deadly. I'm sure if all of you guys out there who play Protoss against Terran, you know how difficult it is to deal with a Banshee because it's difficult to scout, and by the time it comes into your base, if it has cloak, it is very difficult because you may not have photon cannons, you may not have a robotics facility, but WhiteRa already with that primordial gut Protoss instinct, He has a robotics facility on the way, so I think he will indeed have an observer just in time. In fact, yeah, he should have an observer with plenty of time to spare, and he should be able to deal with this Banshee quite easily. I don't expect WhiteRa to lose to a Banshee. That's silly. That's blasphemous. That's like diamond level or platinum level Protoss play. Nobody in their top 200 rankings, which WhiteRa is a part of that VIP club, the top 200 in the world, I believe, would ever lose to some kind of a cloaked Banshee. But here, anyways, here it comes. Goody will be going around the back side of the base. Cloak is about to finish. And do we have an observer coming out? Indeed we do. And wow, look at this. Oh my goodness, the observer has already been rallied over here. WhiteRa already knows this is coming. He didn't even scout, but he knows that there's a cloaked Banshee coming. That is incredible. Gut instinct, like I said, from WhiteRa. And here comes the observer. I mean, for God's sakes, he must be map hacking, because he's going to be able to deflect this Banshee and kill it off. Oh my god. And if you look at WhiteRa's vision, he never had a clue that the starport was there. So he just knew it was coming, and his timing was just drilled down to perfection. And right now, he's actually moving his observer to his natural to prepare against a possible Banshee attack at the natural. And do we have one coming? Oh my god, we do. So WhiteRa here, expecting all avenues of attack. He is seriously one step ahead of his opponent, and Goody's Banshee at the natural now will probably not be able to do much damage either. It might be able to get 2 or 3 probe kills. I guess we'll see 2 kills, and then 3 kills, and then the Banshee will hightail it out of there. But oh my god, WhiteRa is just on top of the playbook. You know, the first thing you expect after deflecting a Banshee attack here is a second Banshee. Usually when a Terran player goes for cloaked Banshees, they bring out at least 2. And the second one will most likely, if you think in your opponent's head, not go for the main, it will go for the natural. And WhiteRa, one step ahead of that, just like how he was one step ahead of the lowering of the supply depots. He is just playing an A+ game of Starcraft right now. And as we switch over to the income tab, we can see he is dominating Goody with about 11 more harvesters. So Goody really in a bit of a tough situation here. I'm not exactly sure what that was all about. I heard a missile turret or something going off, or a Viking. I don't know what I heard there, but there was something going on. But it really looks like Goody's got to have some catch up to do. He's going to repair his Banshee here, and it almost looks like we're going to be seeing a Thor come out for Goody, which, hey, I love Thors in Terran versus Protoss. You guys might not think it's a very good unit, but Thors honestly own in TVP. They are very, very strong. And so Goody here, is he going for a Thor? Does he have one coming out? Not quite yet. He does have armory going down. So I would expect to see some Thors coming out. They're very powerful in Terran versus Protoss. He's also got a ton of siege tanks here. And this must be, yeah, this is where I heard the missile turret. Killing off what seems to be the Observer. Very interesting spot for a missile turret, by the way. This is nice, I guess, because it prevents Dark Templars as well. But anyways, we do have a couple of Banshees kind of roaming the night sky, a Banshee and a Viking at the top right hand position. Meanwhile, it looks like WhiteRa is going to try to apply some pressure, but wow, I don't know if he's gonna be able to do this. He does have Blink, so he was able to research Blink very quickly. 3 warp gates into, it looks like 4 or 5 warp gates with Blink. He also has what seems to be Templar archives on the way on the production tab, and with his Observer, he's gonna go ahead and Blink right into the Terran main. But there are a couple of tanks back here. He's gotta have to be very careful. He does not want to run into those siege tanks. And Goody has to unsiege his tanks. There we go. He's unsieging. He's gonna bring him into the back mineral line. He has to protect his SCVs from going down here, and all of his tanks trying to scramble forward. A ton of SCVs getting picked apart here by the blinking stalkers. They've killed off about maybe 8 or 9 very nice harass right here, and Goody is in a lot of trouble. It looks like he will be able to clear out the rest of these stalkers but he did lose a ton of SCVs though, so not the best for Goody. And look at this stalker right here. It alone has 7 harvester kills. That is an insane amount. The stalker continues to blink and do its harass. I'm surprised we're not seeing any more stalkers coming around. I guess the stalkers are just, I guess right now WhiteRa is just fully focused on macro, and this stalker is finally gonna go down with a heroic 7 SCV kills. That is an insane amount, and you guys can see now WhiteRa is hugely in the lead at 60 over 43 harvesters. He's also taking this opportunity to establish the top right-hand position expansion. So things are just looking better and better for WhiteRa as he's continuing to pump out forces. Over at his main, you guys can see more gateways being added on. He's getting Immortal as well. Things are looking great. He's got more Blink Stalkers. I do believe he's going to try to blink behind the backside of Goody's natural expansion. This is going to be brutal. The Observer almost gets picked off, which would have prevented the Stalkers from blinking in. A Comsat goes down to try to get the Observer, but then the Stalker's blinking in to protect it, and this is going to be a close one. I do believe that WhiteRa will have to fall back, though. This is just too in your face and really too close to the Terran player. The Terran player can continue to pump reinforcements here, and so WhiteRa will eventually have to fall back. Is he going to be able to kill off the refinery? The refinery burns to death, in fact. So very nice, and another Comsat used to finally pick off the Observer. So wow, Goody here constantly defending against the all-out attacks, the harass from WhiteRa. WhiteRa just showing how much of a baller, how much of a G he is here. And really, the unit of the day is the Observer. The Observer has been providing these Stalkers high ground vision and allowing them to blink forward. Once again, the Observer, just before it died from it actually never died from the Viking, had a little bit of health, and it was able to spot the high ground for these Stalkers to once again blink up. Unfortunately, this time for WhiteRa, he really wasn't able to do much damage, though. And I think Goody right now is still trying to find out where that Observer is. If you could zoom his camera, you can see it is right there. This is Goody's vision. And so he's got to pick off this Observer, man. These Observers are doing so much damage. Meanwhile, though, on the other side of the map, Goody has finally spotted this expansion, but a photon cannon there to defend against the Cloaked Banshees. WhiteRa is on top of every avenue, and Goody needs to think up something, and he needs to think it up fast, because it is 2 base versus 3 base right now. And of course, the longer this goes on, the further behind Goody falls. WhiteRa has shown that he is an extremely aggressive Protoss when he needs to be. And right now he's fielding a ton of Immortals, realizing that, of course, Goody has a ton of siege tanks, and what better unit to counter Immortals than the almighty, or excuse me, what better unit to counter siege tanks than the almighty, unkillable Immortal? So WhiteRa is just looking great right now. Interestingly enough, the army tab showing that both players are relatively even, so that's a little interesting. Finally, we have a huge mech ball pushing out from Goody here, and do note there is a Thor on the way, so Goody is just going primarily mech, which is so unusual. Most Terran players, of course, opt to go bio against Protoss, but this game it is pure mech ball. And we're about to see how effective this is going to be. A ton of Hellions, Blue Flames activated, gonna go straight into the mineral line. Oh my god, WhiteRa might be out of position here. All of his Stalkers inside. Both players going for a base race. Here comes a massive mech, dun 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 dun, gonna siege up, and oh wow. WhiteRa will have to fall back here. That is just so many siege tanks. I don't even think this many Immortals can deal with that. Meanwhile, inside the Terran main, everything getting slaughtered. No more reinforcements will come out of there. But Goody is gonna GG out of this game. So, very unusual there. I did not expect to see a GG from Goody. That was highly unexpected. I thought for sure that Goody at least had a fighting chance in that game with his mech ball, but unfortunately, I guess he felt like he had a GG out of there. So, surprise, surprise, this is actually not a best of 3. I looked this up just right now. It is actually a best of 5. So we're going to have another game coming up, and it is going to be on the IC Cup map that I was talking about, so I can't wait to cast that game. Hopefully you guys stay tuned. Goody versus WhiteRa, game number 3, coming up next.